Welcome back to the Two Alphas Talk. Today we're going to discuss things that we've received some questions, and we just want to point out you don't know what you don't know, and it's understood. So we get questions a lot about gear and holsters, and how do you run this and how do you run that. And when you start to speak to the person and you use, say, a term like low ready or compress ready, people don't know what you're talking about. And you have to be able to break it down so that they do understand it. But at the same time, on the opposite side, and one of the things that we've always harped on is training. And not training that you show up at the range and you and your buddies go and shoot and you knocking over cans or shooting even steel targets or whatever. But actual training where you go to an instructor and the person has a curriculum and you learn something. Even if it's one thing, you learn something that day. That's training. And a lot of guys don't know the basic. Guys is not, what is the thing you're not supposed to do anymore? I'm not determining your sexuality. I'm just saying people don't understand that basic nomenclature that we use on a regular basis.
And some of the basic things you need to know before you even get out to an instructor or go to the range. Keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to shoot. Also, if you got a safety on the firearm, make sure it's on. You know what I'm saying? Don't be loading the firearm with the safety off. Then with your finger in the trigger. I mean, it's like Jesus.
Right.
You know?
And these things happen when you don't know. But once you learn it, you have to put it into practice. So you train and then you practice. So if you just teach me something about keeping my finger off the trigger, now I have to practice that by continually doing it. Every time I pick up a firearm, I keep my finger along the side of the frame.
And you check and see if the firearm's empty.
First and foremost.
Everything every time you pick it up. Go ahead.
That's practice. That's what we practice. Practice is the continuation of what you learn. So if you know the 4 gun rules of safety, you have to practice those things.
Don't be a tightwad and worry about, should I take a class from this cat or should I take a class from this person, and you don't want to spend the money. But you go out there and you spend the money on a bottle of wine or some liquor and
or some sneakers
or some stupid shoes, and then you got this thing that's going to keep you alive or can cause catastrophic damage to another human being, and you don't want to learn about it, but you're going to spend the money on something stupid, and then try to justify that. Nah, that's not the way it works. You know what I'm saying? When you got your car, I guarantee you took a driver class or learned how to drive before you got in the car, and that's another dangerous object. It's the same thing. Get down there and take a class. Quit being tightwads. Save a little money. If you spend $400 or $500 on a gun and ammunition, holster, eyes and ears, go to the range, spend your $12 down there shooting for an hour, right? And you still not proficient at the thing, spend some money and take a class. It's not gonna hurt.
And sometimes, and I know some people who I would call mentors who I've seen in basic training classes, and they don't take the basic training class because they forgot something. They take the basic training class just sometimes to humble themselves. Sometimes they hear it from another instructor and they are able to go back and teach it to another instructor or another student in a different way. The other thing too, when you take a basic class, is that you get to see what is happening with other people on the same baseline. So if you're an instructor, you see it from this point of view. When you're a part of that class and you're taking a basic instruction class, you see how other people receive that information. And it's very helpful as an instructor or even an advanced shooter to take a basic class to see the other students in that class.
And if you don't want to do that, ask the instructor if they can give you a private class. So it's just you one-on-one. So you can get all that full attention of what that class is. If it's a 3-hour class with 6-7 people, they say, okay, I'll pay you X amount of dollars for that same amount of time for to be private.
Right.
And then I can learn a little bit more personal. I can memorize it. I don't have to worry about being embarrassed. And
on the same note with the embarrassment, find 5 people or your friends, people you feel comfortable with, and then offer that to an instructor.
Yeah.
So whatever the fee is that we just don't want to take it on that particular day, we want to do it on this day. So that way you feel comfortable asking questions and learning in an environment that's more conducive to you.
Right. And so you don't get nobody hurt, yourself hurt. And then you can continue, you can work some type of deal out with that instructor. You can maybe see the instructor once a month and get yourself up to a level where you feel comfortable almost in, if you conceal carry, almost in every type of scenario where you can draw that firearm and engage targets and without dropping it on the ground or making yourself look silly.
And I'm telling you, I've spoken to people who I do not believe can draw the firearm from a concealed position because of just listening to when you say different things. And it's not about the wording, it's about the action. When you say, oh, well, what do you mean by that? Now you have to describe and explain to them. What I'm talking about when you can clear your garment and you reach and get a grip on that firearm and then you draw it, yada, 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 all that stuff. Those are the things that you recognize that the person just doesn't know what you're talking about.
Right.
And they need a baseline. A basic course will give you the grip and all the other nomenclature that you need to know about the firearm that you're carrying, and then the positions that you may find yourself in. So whether you're talking about SUL, or you're talking about low ready, or you're talking about holstering,
You
all
got
those
kneeling,
things.
sitting in a chair,
Yep.
prone. I mean, left kneeling, right kneel. I mean, it's a whole bunch. Shooting around barricades, left, right, over.
It's not just,
you
you
know?
just can't add water.
Yeah. Then you got, you haven't even mentioned movement.
Right.
You got left, right, forward, reverse, traversing from left to right. You got the arc movement, side movement. You got a whole bunch of stuff. So you got to really pay attention to what's going on out here.
And
how,
can't learn it off just YouTube
No.
and videos.
You
have
got to
to
learn
get
it
out
in
there.
person.
Yep.
So hit us up on YouTube, Instagram, and we'll see you guys in the range.
See ya.